Turn yourself off now, thank you. So to start off our session, we are very delighted to have an introduction from the Northern Ireland Minister for Education, Peter Weir, who has kindly provided a short video of support and an introduction for today's event.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today about the importance of intergenerational learning. I'm delighted to be able to record this message to promote this important area of work as part of the National Intergenerational Week 2021. It is probably appropriate that I'm recording this remotely, reflecting the times we are currently living through. The focus today on intergenerational approaches within education is an interesting one, particularly if the skills, knowledge and outcomes for children and young people can be improved as a result of embracing an intergenerational approach. I welcome Linking Generations Northern Ireland's research report on this important issue, and if there are lessons to be learnt and shared, I would encourage you to explore ways in which to do that. I have seen from the Linking Generations report the fantastic practice that is already happening within our schools across Northern Ireland. For example, Alexander Dixon Primary School has been linking with Ballygowan seniors for many years. This picks up on the department's central policy, every school a good school, by connecting schools with their local communities. This aspect was also identified by my department's good practice document, 10 Features of Effective Schools. Within it, good links with parents, communities and employers was identified as one of the 10 important factors. St Genevieve's High School, Belfast, was highlighted as having engaged in an intergenerational project through an established 15-year partnership with the residents of nearby Connor House Fold. Glasgow College is also mentioned within the Linking Generations report, and there are encouraging signs where the contact with the local care home, Rocky Acres, really benefited pupils studying health and social care at A-level. More importantly, perhaps, it also gave pupils a better understanding about dementia, as well as a wider range of skills, including communication, confidence, listening, patience, empathy, organisation, and teamwork. COVID-19 has highlighted just how much we value and need to value all our generations and reflect on what they might learn from each other. It has also highlighted the interdependence between generations. Inevitably, we will all be considered old at some point in our lives, some of us sooner than others. Intergenerational connections are needed now more than ever in recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic. To rebuild and reconnect people of all ages in the community where we live, where we work, and where we go to school. We need to utilise the experiences that generations have to offer each other, both inside and outside our communities. In a recent podcast involving Louis Theroux and Helena Bodham Carter, she felt that all children should interview their grandparents about their lives as part of the school curriculum. While perhaps I wouldn't go as far as that, I can see why this engagement could be positive. I support LGNI's research and its findings, including key links to education policy and the primary and post-primary curriculum. Clearly, there is scope to do more within these areas, such as health and social care and volunteering. In conclusion, I look forward to further discussion with LGNI regarding the potential development of an intergenerational schools programme that value by supporting the achievement of educational outcomes, while also improving the lives of older people and the wider community. My very best wishes for your event today.
So we'd like to give a big thank you to Minister Weir, and we're delighted that he has shown his support for intergenerational approach in education and that he sees the value of the work. And we are really looking forward to working with the department to take this forward. So I'd now like to introduce Vicky, the manager of Linking Generations, who is going to give some background and context for today's webinar.
So hi everybody, I'm Vicky from Linking Generations, and I thought it would be useful just to give a wee bit of a context on Linkage Generations Northern Ireland, and I want to apologise for those of you who maybe are coming to all of the seminars, because this little bit is kind of generic to all of them, but for people who are just signing on to one seminar, it's really useful to give a bit of a background. So Linkage Generations, I originally started my work in 2008, and Linkage Generations was formed in 2009 with a grant from the Atlantic Philanthropies. So since 2009, we would see ourselves as having pursued a vision of a Northern Ireland where all generations are respected, understood, connected and engaged together in their communities. And the big role of Linkage Generations is to provide those opportunities for generations to come together. Now, I just would like to say a few things, just a few sort of facts about Linkage Generations. So we are the only organisation in Northern Ireland that solely focuses on the development and promotion of intergenerational practice. We like to see ourselves as acting as a catalyst organisation. So we aspire to provide support for others to add value with an intergenerational approach and to complement existing work. We see intergenerational work very much as an approach rather than an activity. So you'll see that the Minister had mentioned that in his speech, and you'll hear today from some of our educators and some people involved in intergenerational projects as to how it has evolved from being just an activity that they maybe do once or twice, and it really has become an approach to how you work. And what we want to do with intergenerational practice is to empower people and build capacity for them to really see how it adds value, and particularly for schools. You know, we know that schools are busy enough and they have lots of their own stuff to do. So it's really important that intergenerational work is embedded, and it's not an extra activity that they have to do, but something that really complements and adds value to what they already want to achieve. So we would really, with the schools work and all intergenerational work, it's very much about partnership and about, you know, joint objectives and multiple outcomes. We do see ourselves as a community development organisation that focuses on age, but really our role moving forward as an organisation is that LGNI really wants to create an intergenerational movement. We want to see intergenerational work as the norm in society, and that generational connection is something that we all have in our lives. And as the Minister had said, in the communities we live, work, and the communities where we go to school. So our networks have been a very important function for us to take on that kind of infrastructure role, where we want to support people right across Northern Ireland. And to give a bit of background, we're a really small staff team. There's just myself, Sarah, who you've met, Lynn Heatley and Lynn Bennett, and we're all part-time. And then we have some comm support from our colleague, Georgia. So we are a small team trying to do big things. And the sort of historical, the history behind Linkage Generations is that when I started as a lone worker, we were very much doing projects on the ground. We were doing all the delivery work, but our work at some point had to evolve, and it was about then supporting others. So we looked to our colleagues in Scotland, Generations Working Together, who were a small team as well, working on a countrywide approach to promoting and developing intergenerational work. And they have an infrastructure of local networks right across Scotland. And obviously Scotland's a good bit bigger than Northern Ireland. So we have the benefit of being smaller, where we can really engage with, well, until COVID hit, everything was face-to-face, and we were able to engage with and people in different networks right across Northern Ireland. So at the minute, we have 12 networks, and we started this network work in 2018. So we established 12 networks, 11 networks, one in each council area, and one for people from outside of Northern Ireland who are interested in our work. So at the minute, we've over 550 members, and we would run network meetings, usually 2 a year. COVID has kind of changed our plans slightly, but those networks bring together people from lots of different sectors and lots of different groups right across the age spectrum. So you can see this is our little network poster that we would use to share information about the network. So you can see it's really applicable to everybody. And the beauty of it is it involves people who could be from an older people's group right up to people who make decisions in councils, policy makers, academics. And it's lovely to have that mix of people. And the networks, the beauty of them too is that it's not like a steering group. You don't have to be at every meeting. You can dip in and out as you feel appropriate. And a good network function over during COVID has been that if people want to kind of match up, they've approached Linkage Generations, had a chat with us, and we've been able to match them maybe with someone in their community. And you sign up to the network through our website, and you sign up by area. And we don't send out lots of information. You would just get your newsletters, any opportunities that Linkage Generations have. And we also have each of our staff members is allocated to a certain area. So you can form that relationship with that staff member in your area. Recently, we have credited our intergenerational training with some CPD hours. So if you take part in the training, you can utilize that within your job. We also have some resources, which we'll talk a wee bit about later on in the presentation. But on our website, we'll also have lots of ideas of projects. And just in the time that we're living in, I would like to signpost people to our YouTube channel, because what we do is we will write our reports and our evaluations of our projects, but then we'll put them into videos. So I think everybody's more kind of likely to watch videos about kind of projects at the minute. So please go to the YouTube channel and have a look at our evaluation impact reports. We also see a really important role is we provide small grants, and we've been doing All Ages April for a good few years, and the importance of letting organisations and community groups test out intergenerational work. So if you're not a member of the networks, we would really urge you to sign up, because what we want to do is create this strong community of practice across Northern Ireland, and it's always really good to have people on the ground who are championing what we do, because we are only as strong as the people who support us, because you guys are the ones doing the work on the ground, and we're the ones coordinating the partnership and holding everybody together. So at this point, I'd like to thank our network members too. So I just thought I would give a little bit of an example about some of the schools work that we have been doing, because I think it's important to show sort of where the history of the research has come from, why we think it's really important that at this stage we look at how we embed it. So we had done a lot of work at Linkage Generations utilising digital inclusion as a school model, and we had a big project back in 2014. And to think that when we finished that project in, I think it was 2017, that we thought that, you know, digital inclusion had kind of been, that issue had kind of been sorted then. But when we look at now in the situation of COVID, digital inclusion is needed as a working sort of topic, is needed now more than ever, because so many people have been left behind. So with the digital and school stuff, digital work in schools, we saw the real value in matching school pupils with older learners. And it was that kind of one-to-one tailored support that worked really, really well. And the digital age project involved us working with local older people's partnerships to get them to identify older people in their community that could benefit from some kind of digital support from younger people. Linkage Generations then recruited some schools and got them on board to see if we could get some of their pupils involved. And really, it wasn't rocket science, but it was the linkage work that we did. We then met with the pupils separately. We met with the older people separately and got them to think about, so first of all, we met with the older people and got them to think about what would they like to learn. So as an individual, what would they like to learn? We then met with the younger people and we told them what the older people would like to learn, and then we matched them up. So you had your younger person and your older person working together on their individual needs rather than in a classroom setting, because we'd had feedback before from people learning in a classroom setting where they didn't want to ask the same question again, or they needed to go over it the next week. So that one-to-one approach was really, really good. But part of our role was to, when we approached the school, was to talk to the school about how we could make this piece of work useful for them. So my colleague Lynn Bennett, she was the lead on the Digital Age project, and she had linked it in to some of the schools utilised it for Duke of Edinburgh Awards, Health and Social Care students, Pope John Paul Awards, it was Princess Trust as well, and then just general maybe topics within the school. We also did smaller projects on the digital inclusion work as well, working with Belfast City Council and the Department of Finance, and they were called Connect IT and IT Time. And the way we worked that was trying to get older people to use Belfast City Council community centres better. So there was something in it for the council, there was something in it for us because we got the intergenerational stuff out of it, and then obviously the schools and the older people as well. And participants came back to us and said, you know, that their confidence and their personal development had improved, sense of community, people skills, and generally that they just enjoyed it. So there's lots of videos up on YouTube, as I've said, and you can go in and look at some of the more in-depth stories on those projects as well. To say a wee bit about our work connecting older people settings in schools. We see this as so valuable, and you'll hear this through some of our presenters today. You know, we think there's a big importance in connecting the pupils through the projects, but you know, for the project and the activity to have longevity and be sustainable, you need to connect the staff in too. And really what we find is that, you know, there's lots of schools already doing this without like generation support, but the schools that we've worked with to connect them with settings, they go on to deliver this activity on their own. They tell us about it. They come to network meetings or they come to events like this and they share their wonderful stories as learning for others. And that's our role, is to promote it. So connecting school staff as well as connecting pupils through the projects is very, very important. And some of the things like care homes in schools have been particularly successful, as well as older people sheltered accommodation in schools. And just to say that, you know, the different activities that they would have taken part in would be maybe arts and crafts or different social activities, digital activities like mentioned before, history projects. I think we had a fashion show in one of our care home projects, and there was one that was with actually young people, and I remember they got into a big discussion about tattoos. And some of the older people had tattoos and some of the young people had tattoos, and they were sharing their different stories around that. Dementia friend training has been a really useful resource for us as part of our care home projects. But the big focus is on these activities being sustained. So, you know, I think you'll hear today from some of the people who are inputting as to how, you know, the Intergenerational has just formed part of what they do. So key events in the school calendar, key dates in the year. And just to sort of say, some of the participants in, it was a care home project that we did with Kirk House, Gilnahirk Primary School, Our Lady in St Patrick's College and Tullycornet Youth Project. And this is some of the comments. So the older people had said, I'm learning how to live again. It makes me feel alive. And I really like the little comment at the bottom here, which is from one of the pupils from Gilnahirk Primary School. But when the day came, I quickly realised I should never have worried. After talking to one of the older women, I can't actually see the whole comment, but I'm sure you can read it yourself because it's got a little bar across. She thought that younger people couldn't be bothered to talk to older people like her. The lesson we've both learned is not to judge a book by its cover. So you get all those kind of lovely outcomes. And what we want to do is we want to tie it to educational outcomes as well. And I just thought it would be useful to mention like Generations All Ages April grant scheme. Now, we've been doing this grant scheme from about 2015, and we found it as, although we don't tend to get a lot of schools on our networks, which is something that we're really, really keen to push forward and to build enthusiasm for getting onto the networks, because we really depend on the sharing of our supporter stories for the learning of others and collecting all this kind of data. But with the All Ages April grant scheme, it's a small grant scheme of little pots of £150. And the idea is it's to enthuse people to make that first link or to extend work that, you know, they've already been doing. But it's a good scheme to get involved in, to try out intergenerational work and to make that link. So I thought, because of COVID, our All Ages April 2020 grant scheme was a little bit up in the air. We did get 2020 grants out, although we haven't been able to pull all that together and evaluate it because some people are still trying to spend their grant or waiting on restriction season. So for 2019, I thought it was useful to show that 44 schools and nurseries got involved. There was a range of social activities funded. 94% of people who took part said it made them feel better connected. And the important part as well is that 99% of the project leaders said that they learned something new from their involvement. So it's that kind of, you know, at the staffing level, you know, they enjoyed getting involved. They learned something new. They made a new link, and 100% said that they would take part again. And you can see it is applicable to young children. We had baby yoga and everything, all different types of groups take part in this. And I love that comment. The room was filled with fun and laughter. So I would just like to introduce to tell you a little bit more about the research that the Minister mentioned, and also the outcomes of some of our intergenerational work and its links to education. Sarah McWilliams from Juniper Consulting.
Sorry, Vicky, will I start or? All right, sorry. I thought you were going to say something else there. Good morning, everyone. I'm here to just talk about the research that we did about a year ago. Vicky, could you change the slide there, just to the next one? So it was really looking at an intergenerational approach to improving skills and outcomes for children and young people in Northern Ireland. And as Vicky has said, you know, Lincoln Generations started in 2008, 2009, and has worked with a lot of schools and education settings and older people's groups over those years. But in terms of evaluation, I suppose for the first 10 years, the focus was often on trying to capture the benefits and the outcomes for older people, as that is where the funding had come from. So we were funded by Community Safety Partnerships, Department of Justice. But through the, I suppose, the Digital Age project, as Vicky has said, we kind of found some interesting findings. Vicky, would you change the slide there? So we started to ask there were post-primary pupils, you know, questions around, you know, confidence, communication skills, listening and empathy. Because at that stage we thought it's quite interesting to start looking at the curriculum and the education links. So we asked the questions, and we were really amazed by the results. You know, high 90s saying that they improved their confidence, improved their communication skills, listening and empathy. So they kind of relate to the kind of cross-curricular skills that are in the curriculum, and then also things like thinking skills and personal capabilities. So we thought that was really interesting, and we needed to look at this further. So then, Vicky, just change the slide there. We kind of put together a research brief in, I suppose, late 2009. And, you know, based on that Digital Age project, that was one project. So we kind of recognized the need, you know, to enhance the evidence and the knowledge around this area, but specifically to say that participating in intergenerational practice can help improve skills and educational outcomes for children and young people, in particular school and college students. So then I suppose we went on. Vicky had formed a kind of mini working group in 2009 with some staff from the Department of Education and Education Authority. And then we also had some conversations with SEA. And at the time, it was good timing, and that the Public Health Agency had some funding available, and we were able to avail of that, a small budget to carry out some research. So in terms of the approach, we thought, well, firstly, we wanted to do a couple of things. One was to look at the links between intergenerational practice and key policies around kind of education in young people, and then also to look at the curriculum. So we looked at kind of key policies like Every School is a Good School, Children and Young People Strategy, further education policies as well. And with the curriculum, we kind of had a broad look at the curriculum and each of the key stages, and then had conversations with SEA, because we felt, well, you know, it's so vast. It was a small piece of research. We really need to, you know, focus down here on a subject. And so we decided to look at health and social care in more detail, just because that was an area that, you know, fitted nicely with Lincoln Generations work, and also, you know, related back to the funding from the Public Health Agency. So we looked at kind of key policies in the curriculum. We also took a look at the academic research and good practice that was available in this area. So we talked to a lot of colleagues through the Vicky's Intergenerational Networks. We went back through the projects that Lincoln Generations had supported over the years, and pulled out the kind of good practice examples and the findings from the academic research, and they're in the report in amount of detail. So then we thought, well, what does that tell us? Okay, and what are the opportunities for the future? And Vicky's going to talk a bit about those opportunities in a couple of minutes. So what we did is we went out and we interviewed school teachers, FE college staff, students, academics, other projects. And then we also undertook initial primary research. So we did interviews with CERC college students down in Downpatrick as well. So I know Vicky's going to make the report available shortly. We've got a bit of tidying up to do, but I wanted to just pull out some of the findings in relation to that health and social care students. So the research that we did, we went down and we spoke to the Golden Memories project, and that was set up as a student-led initiative by health and social care students and the staff. That was to support isolated older people in the community around Downpatrick. And basically it was a weekly session that was held in the kind of cafeteria on the ground floor in the centre of Downpatrick. And the students worked with the Health and Social Care Trust and local care homes and various kind of organisations to identify those isolated people in the community. And they would come in then for weekly sessions with the health and social care students. And it linked quite closely with their course, in that what they were studying was around the effects of aging as part of their course. And so that gave them the kind of skills to apply what they learned, and then to be able to deal with kind of real life scenarios as part of their studies. So I've just pulled out kind of 4 comments from the findings of the research. And I think, you know, the first thing is around kind of improving their understanding of what they learned in the classroom. So they talk about that it's allowed them to get hands-on experience with older people, but that it's they're not just learning theoretically, they're able to put that into practice. So it's much more memorable for them. And then they also, in the blue box, talk about, you know, applying the skills that they've learned. So for example, communication, how to communicate with, you know, an older service user, an older person with hearing difficulties, and then they can practice what they learned in the classroom. In terms of the green box there, one of the students said, you know, that they were quite shy and reserved to start with, but now they were able to kind of socialize with a lot of the people coming in and help new people coming in integrate. And so, you know, the Golden Memories was really building kind of that confidence, the social skills, but they also told us, you know, they were learning empathy, listening, patience, confidence, time management, teamwork skills as well, that they were also developing. And then just finally in the yellow box there, we asked them a question about, you know, has it kind of given them any thoughts on their future career or what they'd like to do in the future? And a number of the students said to us, look, I was thinking of working with children, but as a result of taking part in Golden Memories, I'm now thinking of working with older people. And one of the students said, you know, they'd actually gone and actioned that and had requested placements in care homes and nursing homes to kind of develop that further. So that was really exciting to hear, and you know, the results there in the report. I just want to go on then to say, well, what did all of this research tell us when we trawled through the kind of, you know, good practice, the academic research, the policy, looked at the curriculum and our own research? We were able to kind of summarize it in a diagram as to, firstly, the benefits for children and young people. So we picked out 6 key areas, so skills and capabilities, attitudes, well-being, etc. And then we kind of drill down to them a bit further. So we think in terms of skills and capabilities that there is very strong evidence that there is kind of building these cross-curricular and thinking and personal capability skills that are outlined in the curriculum. So communication, patience, empathy, teamwork, problem solving. We also think around attitudes that, you know, it's helping to develop positive attitudes and perceptions of older people and understanding their needs and concerns a lot better. In terms of well-being, you can see from the comments on the last slide there, you know, it's building self-esteem, confidence, resilience, building those social interaction skills, particularly, you know, between the students themselves and also between the older people, and reduced anxiety, maybe in terms of, you know, anxiety in terms of interacting with older people as well. In terms of subjects in the curriculum, We had, as I said, we had a broad look at the primary and the post-primary curriculum, and decided to focus on, you know, health and social care as a subject in more detail. And we've had conversations since this with SIA again last week, and they've said, you know, there is definite links to both the primary and post-primary curriculum in the subjects there. They also suggested things like active citizenship and religious studies, and a whole range of other areas where they can see the potential for it to fit with the curriculum and provide enhanced learning opportunities for students. In terms of careers then, I think, you know, a lot of experience for CVs and further study applications through taking part in intergenerational work, helping to inform career choices, whether they're interested or not in working with older people, and then also leading to work experience opportunities. And then finally, then community. So again, building those improved connections with the local community, supporting age-friendly communities across Northern Ireland, and again, volunteering opportunities. So all that builds into kind of the whole range of employability skills that students and young people will have when they leave school, and then they can, you know, take those forward into their life and work going forward. So then just the last slide is kind of, we also looked at the benefits for schools and colleges. And again, you know, 6 key areas where we think intergenerational practice can deliver benefits for schools. So if we look at, say, enhanced learning opportunities, you know, the curriculum does talk about that and the importance of providing those enhanced learning opportunities. In terms of volunteering and work experience, I think Vicky mentioned earlier, you know, it could be part of a Princess Trust scheme in a school, or a Pope John Paul Award, or any other award that students are working towards. It could develop employability skills as well. So if you look at things like the Northern Ireland Skills Barometer, that document sets out the skills that are needed in the workforce over the next 10 years. And it highlights health and social care as a key area, but it also talks about, you know, the employability skills that young people need, like communication, problem solving, self-confidence, teamwork, and adaptability. So again, this is all helping young people be prepared for the work environment. In terms of, you know, it's also supporting student engagement and well-being. And again, you know, the curriculum talks about its students' kind of attitudes and dispositions that need to be developed. And then also kind of things like self-esteem, confidence, social interaction skills. And then just finally, kind of enhanced community links. And just going back to what Peter Weir said there at the beginning, you know, the minister talked about every school is a good school. And in that, it talks about connecting schools to their local community. He also talked about, you know, the 10 features of effective schools. And again, that goes on to talk about, you know, the good links with parents, community, and employers. So we think, you know, both for the pupils themselves and the students, and for the schools and colleges, there is, through the research, we hopefully demonstrated that there is, you know, good benefits and good outcomes for everybody involved. So that's a brief review. As I said, Vicky will talk about kind of, I suppose, next steps in a few minutes about, you know, going forward. But if anybody has any questions they want to ask, I'm happy to take those.
Well, we have time at the end for questions.
Okay.
So
Great.
if anybody wants to listen to the rest of the presentations and can think of anything for any of our speakers, you can pop it down in the chat function now, or you can save them for a wee discussion bit at the end. But thank you very much, Sarah. As she mentioned, we will be launching the research and we'll do that through our networks. So if you're not already signed up, make sure to be signed up by the end of the session. Now I'd like to welcome, a big warm welcome to Charlene and Betty, who are going to chat to us today about their experience of being involved in intergenerational projects from the Ballygowan Senior Citizens Group. So Charlene and Betty, do you want to? Charlene, are you there? Can you hear us?
Yes,
okay?
yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, can we? Do you want to turn your wee video on, or are you?
How do I do that, Sarah?
I've asked you to start, so you should be able to click OK. If you go to the top,
Start my video?
yeah, start video, and then we'll be able to see you.
Okay,
Brilliant.
just bear with me a moment.
All right.
Is that it?
There you go.
There we are. Hello, how are you? Good morning. I'm Charlene from Ballygowan Seniors Group, and Betty is with me this morning. Betty is the leader of the group and has led the group for a good number of years. And I would like to hand over to Betty, and Betty will fill everyone in about our relationship with Alexander Dixon's School. Over to Betty.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. The Ballygowan Senior Citizens was started in, well, the first meeting was in 1983 when the village hall was just built, and there was an interest for Senior Citizens Club. Therefore, we held a meeting and got off the ground in February, and we're going 34 years past there. And at the first, we had a lot of members, but there was a lot that had to go into homes and a lot died. So we're down till about 20 members. At one stage with 48 members. But we have been working with Alison and the Alexander Dixon School this last 12 years at the Intergenerational programme, which we've enjoyed very much. And the Senior Citizens looks forward every year to when are we going to start again. So everyone really enjoys it, and we've done various things, technology, crafts, arts, and things like that. They all dearly love to be working with the children, and I think the children enjoy us as well. And it's lovely when you go out into the village that the kids can shout hello to you by name and recognise you in the village. So we really have thoroughly enjoyed all these years of working with Alexander Dixon School, and Vicky has been very, very good and very attentive and very helpful in every way with us and helping us all along. I'll hand over to Charlene now, and she could say a few words.
Hello, everyone. I would just like to mention about the last time in 2019 when we were doing Linking Generation. 2020, we only got about 1 week done, before COVID came in. In 2019, as part of our Linking Generation, we worked alongside Raymond Patterson, who's a local historian here in Ballygowan, and the children had a great time. They went out into the village and took photographs of some of the buildings, in the village, older buildings like the Presbyterian Church, the old railway station goods yard, our church halls, which is a very old building as well. I'm sure maybe some people might know of it. It's on Cumber Road, and it's got the time is short written along the top. And the children all went out and took these photographs, and Alison said they had a brilliant time taking them. And then one particular day, Raymond came, he did a series of talks, and the children then got up to the front of the room and spoke about the photographs that they had taken. And that was very, very interesting, wasn't it, Betty? It was, and the children thoroughly enjoyed that. But as Betty says, over the years, we have all had a great relationship with the children. And, it has worked both ways, from the adults to the children, and the children back to us. And when you're sitting at your tables, you really do, week by week, build up that wee relationship, one with the other. And everybody did very much look forward to it. And as Betty said, all the seniors were always asking, and saying when are we starting Linking Generations this year. And it's always been, very, very good for all of us to take part in.
Thank you so much, Charlene and Betty, and thanks for coming along today and sharing. Hopefully it won't be too long. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Hopefully we're on the other side of this now, and it won't be long till we can get back together, because I'm sure the children have missed you as much as you have missed them. But thank you for coming today. I'd like to, speaking of children, I would like to now introduce our next speaker, who is the principal of St Congle's, Principal Kathy Hunter. And just to start off the presentation, we have a little video just demonstrating the beauty of the relationship of intergenerational work that has been embedded in the school.
Thank you very much, Sarah, and thank you again to yourself and to Vicky and to everybody for allowing us to be part of this fabulous program here this morning. So just a little bit about our story. So we have been very much a natural kind of a connection to, a bit like what Betty and Charlene were saying there, our local pensioner group, known fondly as the St Congle's Friendship Club. They've been going for more than 20 years in the local parish centre, which is located just adjacent to our school here. And there've been some very natural links in that over the years, simply because a lot of those people who were attending the club were grandparents of children who were attending the school. And so over the years, a friendship has formed and grown, quite simply based on things like arts and crafts or seasonal activities. You saw there in some of the videos, some Christmas activity around St Patrick's Day. They would invite us up. Some of our Irish dancers or our musicians would place for them. They would have a wee song and a wee dance. They'd be swinging us around the room. It'd be great fun at that stage. And that has grown naturally. They were given some funding, and over the years they would invite us to their workshops. So we've been involved in some Tai Chi with them. We're regular bingo players. We like a wee bit of bridge as well sometimes. And it has been something that has been a great source of community for the area that we're located in, and obviously has been part of something that is just naturally embedded in school life. But as a result of that, we had other programs that were running alongside that, more curricular based within school. Part of that was in our PDMU curriculum. We had the Roots of Empathy program, where a baby was brought into school every, about every fortnight or so, to work with a primary 5 class, so that they could track their steps as they were growing up, building empathy, building an understanding of what social skills are and the different milestones as children grow. Alongside that, we also ran some family workshops. It's interesting to hear earlier on about your digital age project. That's something that we had done again, quite incidentally, where we were inviting our local grandparents in, basically to teach them how to do some online Tesco shopping at the time. But again, it kind of grew from there. We work naturally with our parent-teacher association, our local preschools and nursery schools in terms of transition at the younger stage, and then our post-primary schools at transition for our primary 7s who are leaving to move on to year 8. We're very fortunate where we are. We're located on the Brunswick Road here in Bangor, and we've got great businesses around us who are very kind and very generous to the school. They donate their time, they donate their energy as well. Particularly, I'd like to mention McMullen's shop, which is located right beside the school here. When we're covering money topics in maths, Thomas automatically invites our primary 1s and primary 2s in to do a wee tour of the shop, and he tells them all about how the cash register works and the bank machine, or as our children know it, the hole in the wall that just magically spouts out money to them. And he makes a big fuss over them and letting them come in. They're all given a wee bit of pocket money to spend, and they have to do their maths to work out what they can afford within the shop. And again, other business partnerships, there's Brunswick Dental and a few other businesses around us here who would maybe offer some of their time as mystery readers. That you probably saw again in the video. We invite parents, grandparents, business community leaders, anybody who really wants to come in. We throw a big white sheet over their head. They look like a ghost. They come into the classrooms. The children have to ask questions. And as they get a question right, the sheet is slowly revealed until the mystery reader comes to life and we find out who it is. And then they inevitably end the session reading us a lovely story. That has worked incredibly well for us over the years, and it's been a great source of enjoyment, both to the people coming in and obviously to the children themselves. A few years ago, myself and actually my primary 5 teacher happened to come across a TV documentary where some 3 and 4-year-olds were going into a local care home. And we were both inspired. We both burst into school the next day, and we kind of thought this was something that was going to build on things that we were already doing in school. And her enthusiasm, I should mention her name, this is Sharon Parker. Her enthusiasm for this project has just been second to none. Sharon is also our religious education coordinator, so you can imagine this all kind of fits very nicely because it's a sense of community building, and again, as was mentioned earlier, good citizenship. So we decided that we would hold some interviews for our primary 5 pupils who happen to be in Sharon's class. We asked them to write an application form, go through an interview process, and from that a group was formed known as our primary 5 intergenerational group. They then were given access to some dementia awareness training, and they were very proud to receive their wee dementia awareness badges. At that point, Sharon had been working very hard behind the scenes, and she had made contact with our local care home here, which is Bryansburn. And it's again, we're very fortunate in the fact that it's located within walking distance from the school, which made things all the more easier because we weren't having to worry about transport and things like that. We then became regular visitors, and we were up in Bryansburn every Friday, engaging in things through working with their care and wellbeing activity coordinator. We were engaging in arts and crafts, knitting skills, crochet skills, just anything that was kind of something of interest to the residents, many of whom were suffering from dementia. Many of them really just weren't getting as many visitors as what the care home would have liked them to do. And the benefits of that for their residents and obviously for our pupils was second to none. In particular, one of our children here, who would be somewhere along the line on the autistic scale, was very much brought out of herself and was able to form a really meaningful and deep friendship with some of the residents within the home. Aside from that, then naturally our involvement grew when we were approached by another care home called Oakmont, who had been struggling through the network to try and find a school who would partner with them. And their interests were very different to the ones that Bryansburn had. Bryansburn residents tended to be slightly more incapacitated, shall we say, whereas our Oakmont residents were a wee bit more active of themselves and were quite willing to get out and about and wanted down into the school. So they partnered up with our Eco Committee, and they came down to school here. We applied through the North Down and Ards Community Council, and we got some Live Here, Love Here funding, and we were able to purchase a greenhouse and some growing beds. And together then we got involved through Food for Life get-togethers and other sorts of associations, and we began growing some vegetables and plants and things like that together. And again, that naturally led on to having some enjoyable meals together and just having a bit of fun in the outdoors, which just generally promoted a great sense of well-being. Of course, this was all pre-COVID, and I mean, that has changed everything for us. But it hasn't. What we've decided to do is to maintain those connections as strongly as we could. We wanted to get our children involved as best they can in promoting a sense of we're all still in this together. No matter what age we are, we're all feeling that social isolation at this point in time. We're all feeling a wee bit down, and we all kind of can pick each other up. So along the theme of sunshine, we decided that we would spread a little love. So our children have been involved in pre-recording videos from home. They were sent into school, combined into one video, which was then shared with the care homes that they could show to their residents. We did songs for them. We did some Beatles tracks. We actually took some requests from some residents for songs that meant something to them. And we were able to put that together and share with them quite simply. Aside from that, we were also sending cards. We made some Valentine's gifts for them. You saw that in the video there. We planted some daffodils around Christmas time into pots. And it's actually been lovely because the residents have now been sharing their photographs of the stage of development of where their daffodil is now in March. And I mean, that in itself has been a great sense of achievement for everybody. And again, we're hoping when things return to some sort of normality, that we'll be able to kind of pick up where we left off and keep our friendship strong with the associations that we have. Aside from that, it was interesting to hear your report there about curriculum links, and I would echo everything that you've actually highlighted there. As I said at the start, this was very much embedded within our RE and our pastoral prayer curriculum anyhow, but we've seen great benefits in terms of literacy, the children's oracy skills, talking and listening skills, their actual writing skills in sending postcards and letters to the residents has encouraged them to write for a purpose. Within PDMU, their wellbeing, we are a Take 5 approach school, and this is very much in our give aspect of that, as well as the children building their own self-confidence and self-esteem. In terms of World Around Us, it fits very naturally within the history programme for ourselves, and obviously the arts. And even within PE, because we've been involved in some Tai Chi, or because we've been involved in some fine motor and gross motor skills, that has linked into that curriculum as well. We also like to think that it comes in under the heading of a kindness curriculum. We're very much a school that promotes kindness, and kindness should be at the heart of everything that we do. Therefore, this is an easy and ideal opportunity to build a sense of community, to show that we're working for the common good, to have a moral purpose to what we're doing, and education should obviously, to build and enhance your life skills, it has to enhance you as a person as well. It's good citizenship, and it builds social communication, social connection, and that's exactly what any primary school would want to be about. We have to say that none of this has been done in isolation. It's not just been through ourselves. We're so blessed to work with the people that we do, and we're very grateful for all the grants and support that we've had through Food for Life get-togethers, Live Here, Love Here, yourselves here at LGNI. It's just been a fantastic program, and I just want to say that I would highly recommend it to any school to get involved. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We as an organisation are so lucky to have such passionate and dedicated supporters. As Vicky said at the top of the show, we couldn't do our work without the people that we work to support. So thank you very much, Kathy. And I think everybody will see the joy that you share when you talk about the children and the relationships, but just how organically it has grown, and being able to sustain it over COVID is just, it's magical. And I'm sure everybody can't wait to get back together and pick up where you've left off in real life. So thank you. From the smalls to the bigs, we'd like to introduce Faye Cole from Southwest Regional College, a lecturer who is going to share her experience of integrating an intergenerational approach with young people. So thank you, Faye.
Thank you so much. Can you all hear me okay? I'm just going to share my, sorry, if you just give me 1 minute, I've just got some pictures to, I can't get this out of the way. So my name is Faye Cole, and I work, I'm just trying to get this, I'm going to start this again. Sorry, I'm going to stop sharing for 1 second and bring it back up. I can't get it onto a big screen, but I'll have it like that with my smaller ones. It really is absolutely lovely to be here, and I work as an early years lecturer and fell into intergenerational work. It wasn't an area that I expected to. My focus is very much on students who are working in the FE, 16 to 18-year-olds, and we do a lot of project-based learning. So we learn hands-on approach, and when I started to engage with intergenerational work, it was something I just felt incredibly passionate about, and all the students did as well. And it was one of our core values is very much on community. So this fitted in so well with what we were doing. We started our project in 2018 and set up a monthly cafe, a social cafe for all different people from our community to come in and spend time for 2 hours with us. And the students had met with a P1 class, and within that P1 class that we were working with, we identified the children's needs. So our first year was based on literacy and the curriculum there. And then in the second year, we were very much focused on community and how we support that. And it was a really good opportunity for students to meet with a wider connection. And when we're working within FE, we are not just the childcare students, we have so many students working there who need to get hands-on experience. So they're working, we have our hairdressing department, we have our catering department, we have our physical education students, and all of those students that are working have been working with this cafe session that we've been doing, and it's allowed them to really meet with a real host of both care centres have come in, and also just our local neighbours who we've invited for these sessions. So what is project-based learning? My role as a lecturer was very much on focusing on what do our students need from this experience. And students identified that they wanted to learn in a different capacity. Rather than me traditionally lecturing to them, they wanted to find out how they could lead their learning for themselves. And project-based learning is something that you're able to do at any age group. And internationally, very often, primary schools would use this approach within their curriculum much more than we do within the UK. Students sat down and they identified what they wanted from the sessions. So that this was embedded from the very outset. This was embedded from the very outset so that they could decide what they wanted to learn and what their focus would be. And they designed the cafe, they led the cafe. This was very much their experience. As we moved through this project, it wasn't just about the cafe. And you can see, I love the pictures, and I've loved over this last week, just thinking about what we've done over these last couple of years, because what we did was we opened up our college building to a much wider community than we ever had before. And when we look at colleges, very much they're focused on the 16 to 18 age groups, but we are very much about adult education as well, and about adult learning. And it gave us a space within our community where people could come together and they could learn together. So students would put together their creative activities, their play-based activities, and each child would be partnered up with those senior residents that would come in to visit us. And it's really surprised us in just how valued this has been by wider audiences. Our rewarding bodies have very much said, this is the approach we need to adopt. This is what we need to do within our coursework, within our learning, so that students are able to participate within society and able to connect with that wider world around them. When we started this project, we didn't really expect anyone to be interested in what we were doing. It was a small cafeteria style project. And then after 3 months, we suddenly had about between 60 to 80 people joining us each month. And it was not what we expected at all. And people did take notice. I'm not competitive at all. I'm very, but it was a surprise to me when people started to look at us as a bit of a beacon of excellence in what was happening. And one of the achievements we got was we reached the finals within the Association of Colleges Beacon Awards. And that was a huge achievement for us, not because of the competition, not because of the status, but because what we were doing was we were raising the profile of intergenerational practice. And it allowed us to say, this works. This is what our schools need. We had the primary age group, we had the teenage students there, we had us as lecturers in those middle years of age, and then we had our senior residents there as well. So it really was intergenerational from the very outset. And it was sustainable. It was something that happened every month. And because we had written it into students' assignments, because we had made it part of what was normal common practice, it allowed us to show both management and the wider community that there was a purpose to this. And I really do believe that as colleges, we do have a duty to open our doors to that wider community. Alongside that, there was a real social benefit from it. When we walk around our community, very often we don't know who we're walking next to. Students were coming in back in after class and saying, I've just met Billy, or I've just met Dorothy, who we were talking to at the cafe, and we stopped and we had a conversation. Being part of a community and feeling part of your local neighbourhood is so incredibly important. And this really did impact on the students' well-being. They suddenly felt that they were not disconnected. And there was a lot of learning that took part between the teenagers and between the senior residents, where they were maybe marginalised and they were not respected, or they were seen as something that they maybe weren't. And this gave the opportunity for them to really get to know each other and to question some of those things. Even an example of that was within the primary school, there was a huge amount of children where English isn't their first language. Those children were able to speak with the older residents, and they maybe, there was a little bit of a query, why have we got all these children who can't speak English, or, why is it? And it broke those barriers down immediately. And it was beautiful to see those children suddenly teaching the senior residents new languages, new phrases, so that we could connect and we could have those conversations. And something that, from the seniors' point of view, they felt that they were disassociated from our community. They thought people didn't want them to be there. They were worried about the fact they had hearing loss. They were worried about that they weren't as physically able as maybe they had been at some point. So this gave them the opportunity to really have those conversations and realize that if we are going to have a community, we have to work together. And that has also given us that capacity to work with our local councils. And it's very much we have to learn together, and we have to share this practice when we're taking part, because it is quite new. When you look at classroom designs, we segregate age groups from nursery, from baby stages. So it is really beneficial that we then have that opportunity to work together, so we can look at how we can bring age groups together much more. And the local council has really fed into this, because they've said, what have you learnt from this? How do we get age-friendly policies? And that was why last year our focus was on community, because what we were able to do was we was able to learn about how community is for our senior residents and how community is for our younger residents, and look at how we need to build and we need to grow it. We have shared our practice from the outset, and we're very much seeing ourselves as a learning centre, where we are still learning, and so are those people who come in and they visit with us. And our students have led seminars and they've led workshops so they can share their skills. And that has been something that's really built the confidence of teenagers. When they came into us, they didn't expect to do seminars. And to be honest, in normal situations, I probably would have let them speak to you rather than me telling you about this experience. But it has snowballed, and we've shared that, and schools have come to us and said, you know, now we're going to try some reading groups where children can try that out within older residents can come in and we can do some reading time together. People have set up their own things. And we've had people from international organisations come and say, what are you doing? Which to us is huge, sitting in Dungannon in a small town, to have people saying, we want to learn from you. And it's not me they want to learn from, they want to learn from the students. That's a huge thing for promoting young people's mental health and well-being, because you're saying, you know, what you are doing is making a difference. And those small ripples of practice are really helping. And that's where Linking Generations have been a huge support to us, because we've been able to tap into those expertise, because this was a new thing for us to do. And it was scary when you think of safeguarding policies, when you think of health and safety. You know, we suddenly, this lady who you can see in the photograph, she came in with an oxygen tank on our first visit. And it was really scary for me to think, my goodness, you know, how do we make sure that we keep this safe? How do we make sure that this works? And it did all work. And it does mean you have to adapt your approach. You have to think about the risk assessments that you're doing, but it is viable and it is possible. But the thing that really makes a huge difference to me, and I'd love you to just, I'm sorry my presentation isn't up on a full screen here, but I would love you to just read through some of these quotes as I'm just sharing this last bit, because this is why intergenerational work really makes a difference. This isn't about children go in and perform into the senior residents. This isn't about them you know, doing those small things. This is about building relationships so that we are learning and we are sharing our knowledge together. And all of us at all stages have our knowledge to share. And it really has brought out a new way of thinking for all of us, myself and the students and the college, to think about, why are we doing this? What is the purpose of this? And it has been challenging over lockdown. But what it has given us over lockdown is to sit back and to reevaluate, what stage are we at. We started this thinking, do you know, we don't know if this will work. This might be a one-off session and we might not be able to do it again. But then what happened was we realized instantly that this was beneficial to everyone involved. Our higher education students have completed research on the experience of children. They've researched how it's impacted on our senior residents, and we've been able to get involved so many different departments into this project. And it has made a difference, and it is huge. You know, when you suddenly have your hand held by someone who hasn't been out for a month, and they tell you, do you know, this is the first time I've been out. This is the first time I've connected with people in a long time, and we've danced and we've sung and we've done all the outcomes that we need to do. But what we've also done is we've connected. And I think moving forward into this, after this last year, that is hugely important. We all need to reconnect. We need to make sure that our society is all felt that they're cherished and that they're important. You know, and even in the news last night, we saw There's a lot of loneliness where residents are not getting out of the care homes. They're not allowed visitors at the moment. And it's scary. So I think at this point, we really need to look at how do we open up our communities when we step back? And we are always open to share our expertise, to share our learning. And I'm just delighted to be part of your Intergenerational Week. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Weir, for that really powerful and insightful presentation. I think what I took from it is that, like all good intergenerational activity and approaches, it sparks from a need, and it was the need to fulfill what the young people wanted. What they wanted was to learn differently, and from that has grown and embedded an amazing approach, but that the connection that you've given to the local community, and I'm sure it's been sorely missed at the moment. And you're right, the focus going forward is to reconnect and rebuild those relationships. As always, thank you. Faye is an amazing supporter of LGNI, and we really appreciate you taking the time out to be with us today. I am going to pass it back over to Vicky now, who is going to kind of look at what LGNI and what we can do going forward and how we can support the groups we work with.
Hi everybody, it's me back speaking. I forgot to unmute myself there. I really enjoyed those presentations, and it kind of reminds me why I have been doing intergenerational work for so many years. It's just amazing. I love those comments, Faye and Kathy. It's just amazing to hear how it's woven, you know, completely into the school, and it's fantastic. And Charlene and Betty, it's great to see you on. I've worked with Charlene and Betty from 2008. And it's been amazing. I always think that the kids who have been involved in that project, like, you know, now, what age would they be? They probably have their own kids. So it's really, really brilliant to see. And I love work. I actually live in Ballygowan as well, and right beside the school. And the relationship has been fantastic. I'm just going to share my screen again here. Let me see. And I was wanting to just say a wee bit about what Linked Generations would like to do, sort of where to next. And, you know, I think it's important to recognise that there's, you know, you've heard from the people today, there's lots of people who are doing this work, but there's also lots of people who aren't doing it yet. And the role of, you know, the supporters like Faye and Betty and Charlene and Kathy is that we really want to share your story. You know, we really want you to influence other people to take part in this work. And thank you so much for taking part today, because I think just from even today's session, the inspiration has been amazing. So this is just a little bit about what we would like to do moving forward. You know, as Linked Generations working on a Northern Ireland wide basis, we would love to use our research to inform the development of an intergenerational skills pilot, which is actually completely focused on achieving educational outcomes. But we know that as a community volunteer organisation, we would really need to work alongside a steering group of educators to further develop like an intergenerational toolkit for schools. Sarah McWilliams has been working on a toolkit based on the research, you know, sort of highlighting the links to the curriculum and enabling us really to be able to, if we were promoting it to schools, to see how it can add value or help them achieve what they want to achieve. But we really need to work alongside some educators to kind of see, are we taking it the right way? What else do we need to include in it? And what would be beneficial? For the example, how do we support educators to report this back into the curriculum or into the work, you know, that they're doing, rather than it just being a community voluntary approach to kind of asking schools to get involved in something. We see the value in our CPD accredited training, and we would love to deliver that to education staff. We do know, again, we would need to, you know, consult alongside educators to see, you know, do we need funding to be able to provide, you know, sub-teacher support while this is happening? Is this something that would need to be delivered over 2, you know, shorter training sessions? Could it be a day? So all those kind of things. But really what we would love is to be able, as part of the programme, to support schools to develop plans focused on this two-way transfer, and you know, whether those are a yearly plan or looking at how it's focused on right through the school year. But I think a key thing for this work to be sustained and to be recognised, and like I was overwhelmed by Minister Weir's introduction to this event and how supportive he is to look at how we can support school staff and staff in colleges and education settings to evaluate and report on those educational outcomes. So that it's something that's built in and it's something that's utilised within education. And obviously we really love more schools and education settings to be on our networks, whether we need to actually coordinate a specific network for schools and education settings that's maybe not run in the middle of the day or specific timings. So that's kind of a plan of what we would like to do. And we think, you know, some of the starting points, which I don't really need to go over all this again because our supporters who have been on today have kind of shared all this, you know, making links with local care homes, folds, groups, of the option of it as well of sort of retired older people mentoring and supporting students with schoolwork. So that kind of mentoring approach rather than it being students supporting older people, the other way around. The opportunity of all the schools awards programs, and also community links as part of schools programs like shared education, extended schools, and including older people from the community and relatives. That idea of using school facilities and resources better for the whole of the community, which has been mentioned a lot today, and also looking at how intergenerational contact can fulfil elements of the curriculum. Health and social care is strongly kind of mentioned in our research, but obviously with those other kind of skills development and learning for life and work. So I have seen in the chat function, there's a couple of people, Shirley and Belan, I hope I've said your name right, have a question and also maybe something to share about. But I had just thought that if we didn't have any questions, I'd put these are some of the questions that Linked Generations we're looking to answer. So, you know, do you think this is a viable approach for LGNI as an organisation, and looking at how we might be able to fund this approach in Northern Ireland, and also who would need to be involved? But I think at this point, maybe if we, Lynn, have you been, I'm going to stop sharing. Have you been watching the chat function?
Yes, just
Yes.
those ones that you picked up there, Vicky.
So we'll go with who sort of asked first. Is Belan, is that how you say your name?
Yes, it is. Yeah, I'm not from the
Okay,
West
do you want to go ahead and I'll mute myself?
Sorry?
Do you want to ask, it was your question, I think it was for Kathy, was it?
Yeah, I was just asking, we've been doing a little bit of intergenerational work up here in Western Isles, and it's been quite successful. However, I find it's only really with one class I'm working with just now in one school, but I really want to branch out. But it's about how we present ourselves to the care homes, other than showing what practice we've already done. Is that any specific way that you do kind of go in, and what do you say when you do go in? You know, is it just promoting what you've done, or do you have facts with you on benefits of intergenerational work, and you know, trying to do it in a most people-friendly way, you know?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I suppose it's more anecdotal. We do share with them our experiences of working with certain groups so far. Particularly when we were initially speaking to Bryansburn Care Home, which was going to be our initial care home partnership. I suppose it helped that they were already on the same page. They were really quite interested. They'd heard of this program before. They knew of it. They just were looking for the right partnership. So it kind of felt that it was very timely. But to be fair, the benefits of this program are so mutual for both parties that it's something that it's very hard not to see anybody wanting to engage with, as long as it's manageable for everybody, and as long as basically what everybody was saying there earlier, that it doesn't become burdensome or that it's an add-on extra, but that it's part of something that will enhance both the residents' experience and also the experiences for yourselves at school and the pupils.
I've had through lockdown, I've got a lot of experience of working with intergenerational work, but I've also got the personal side where I've got a family member in the care home. And what's become really clear to me through COVID is that when there are things going on, be it writing letters, phone calls, whatever else, it's the residents that are capable in some sort of way. And I'm wanting to kind of involve everybody, even the ones that aren't so capable. So it's about trying to get everybody involved in a way, you know.
Yeah, we had that
Diana,
experience as well.
sorry.
Sorry, we had that experience as well, because obviously those who weren't able to write back to us weren't. But I suppose that was one of the main reasons why we decided to go down the route of pre-recorded videos and some songs and things, because they were played for the residents in their lounges or in their relaxation time, and it meant then that everybody was involved at some level of it without having to feel that they necessarily needed to reciprocate in some way.
Thank you.
Sorry for cutting in on you there, Kathy. I was just going to say, we have a care home webinar tomorrow, part of National Intergenerational Week, and what we've kind of tried to do, because obviously with this, with the education research in this, it's really good to see how it's, how we can actually start to tie it then and embed it within the educational outcomes. And with the care homes one, we have put up some of the residential care home standards from the Department of Health and started to break those down, because our audience for tomorrow is mostly care home activity coordinators. So I don't know if you can make that meeting, but if you can't, we're hoping to, after the dust settles from Intergenerational Week, we're going to try and sort of share, the different sections of, so this, would like to share the research as part of this one. We have our first event was age friendly and active aging, so sharing a bit on it. So if you sign up to the networks, we're going to hopefully share those out, through the network membership, and then can make tomorrow. There'll be a lot of care home activity coordinators on then tomorrow as well. You could ask maybe the question to them too. But I know that first conversation is always something at our training that people ask is, how do you approach? And we see it would be quite useful to have the skills toolkit if we were working alongside teachers, because the softer stuff at the community voluntary level isn't always what teachers maybe need to make that approach. So it's a really good question. Thanks for your question, and thanks for answering, Kathy. The other thing was Shirley was going to say a wee bit about a programme that she's running. I'll mute myself, Shirley.
Hi, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to just say a little bit about learning and sharing together.org.uk, which is a website that we've just launched literally this week on Monday. And it's based on nearly 20 years experience that we've had in Burnham in Buckinghamshire, running a project with a primary school, St Peter's Primary School, and a sheltered housing scheme. And we've had nearly 600 children have taken part over that time, and at least 50 older people have really enjoyed learning and sharing together, which is what it's all about. It's very much a project that benefits the children and the older people. They just have so much fun from having opportunities to meet regularly. And what the online toolkit consists of basically are 30 modules. So based on the work that we've done in Burnham, I've put together the sort of worksheets, if you like, the packs, so that somebody could, if they wanted to, run a project for a school year based on 30 weeks with the sort of lesson plan, if you like, there ready for them. So I would really hope that you can take a look at the website and get more of an idea of what's involved. But it's aimed particularly at years 5 and 6, so 9 to 11-year-olds. And Marissa, who's I can see on my screen as well, is the community project worker at Burnham Health Promotion Trust, who has responsibility for running the project now. And I retired from the charity 2 years ago, but I've been sort of keeping involved and have actually developed this toolkit since my retirement. But if you get a chance to have a look, please do. And if you see the site, there's a little video that we've got there showing some of the lovely, lovely comments we've had last year from the children and the older people. And we have also made it work online. We're now using Zoom and running the project very successfully on a Wednesday afternoon with Zoom. Thanks so much for letting us have the chance just to let you know about it, and also to be here when I don't know how many other people aren't from Northern Ireland, but it's great that we've had this opportunity to hear about the amazing work you're doing, so thank you.
Yeah, I think it's really good actually. Well, with COVID, what's happened with our network meetings is all our network meetings were face-to-face local meetings. And then as a staff team last April, we were like, oh, what are we going to do? And I was actually off maternity, but the staff team led on starting Zoom meetings. And, I was tallying up the number of people that have come to our Zoom meetings, since we started them. And I think it's like 195 people have taken meetings since we started them, and we took the approach to start with 3 kind of open to anybody Zoom meetings, and we focused them on topics. So one of the slides that I think was kind of maybe missing from this presentation was a slide around resources that we have out at the minute, and we got money to print up physical copies of them. Now they are sort of for distribution in Northern Ireland, but we're happy to send out, you know, 1 copy or whatever. But in the follow-up email, we're going to send out a link to how you can download that. But we got we put those out on social media on our Facebook. We got requests for 1,000 of them were gone within 40 minutes. So there is a real interest out there to use it work. And I seen a lovely post yesterday actually from a local community organization who had got, I think they got 50 or 100 packs, and they had put a post up on their Facebook yesterday to say the packs are at the local post office. Please collect these and use these with your friends, your families and your neighbours. That's exactly what Linked Generations is trying to do. You know, it's about kind of bringing all of you guys together and creating that community of practice and a responsibility to connect generations, whether it's through our organisation or whether it's through your organisation or whether it's through together. So thank you all so much. And I think like, Kana, are you from Japan? Yes. So we've got international group.
Yes,
so I think if you want to maybe say.
Nice to meet you all. I'm Kana and I'm from Japan. I live in Japan now, and I'm actually a graduate school student now, and I am a registered nurse in Japan, and I'm interested in people with dementia and also connection between people in different generations. So
Yeah, well, thank you so much. And it just shows the reach that you can have. And I think it's so beneficial to have everybody on. And Shirley, thanks so much for sharing your toolkit and you know, for everybody who's shared today. What I would say is, like, as a small staff team, our only way of keeping in touch with everybody is through our networks. And I'm just going to share our network slide, because if you haven't already, it would be great if you could sign up, because we don't have, you know, a big kind of, we don't have a communications person who works on all of this. Our only way is for our staff team to sign in and see who signed up to the networks, and that's how we email out. And would really love to share, you know, to share the information that we have from the seminars and the different documents with you after the meeting. So if you could sign up, that would be great. And the other thing just to say is that if anybody would like to speak to our staff one-to-one, or you have an idea or you want some follow-up support, we're happy to take those calls as well. And I think that's it. Has anybody from the Linked Generations team anything else to say about, or we're all good? And there's no more questions from anybody? Well, can I just take this opportunity again to say thank you and to stay connected, and hopefully at some point this year we might be able to start some face-to-face contact, which would be absolutely amazing. But I think Zoom is a real tool for us all now, because we can connect more easily. So thank you everybody, and hopefully we'll be seeing some of you on tomorrow's meeting as well. Bye.
Thank you very much.